What's up, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and I've been kind of pondering this one all weekend, and I finally decided I'd get some coherent thoughts together and put it into a poorly constructed video, as I usually do. So, we all know my opinions on HD remasters at this point. Yes, there's pros and cons of HD remasters and remakes, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna bring all that up in this video because that's not what this one is about. I'm curious, given the HD remaster culture that the 8th generation of consoles is, I'm curious to see what everyone else's favorite HD remasters are. Mainly because it's so wild and varied, and I'll go into it now in a second, which will explain it a lot better. But it can be from any platform. It can be from any previous generation. It doesn't matter. One thing I will rule out, which also gets an honorable mention for this, is games that get a full-on remake. I would prefer you not include them in your list. So, honorable mention, Final Fantasy VII. Otherwise, that would be in there because this obviously is getting the full remake treatment. And yes, it's on, say, Steam and coming to PS4 sometime this year on PS4 at least. You can put the Steam version and possibly the PS4 version in there if you want, but I'm curious to know everyone's top couple of HD remasters. I originally wanted to say top 3, but then I thought that might be a bit too restrictive, and then I thought top 5 might also be too restrictive. So I want you to put in as many as you think, and as many as you can justify. Now, I want you to take into consideration not just the quality of the original game. I wanted to incorporate the quality of the remaster, the quality of the original game, the quality of how the quality of the original game transfers over with your immersion and ability to play and enjoy the new version of it. I'll give examples in my personal opinion of all this now in a minute. But yeah, it's so I don't want to just give it on name or previous nostalgia alone. So I'll go through some of mine, and I'll go through some other examples in my case of games that I wouldn't give just for just for nostalgia's sake, or just for original quality's sake. Also, one other thing I want people to leave off this list is games that are not out yet. Honorable mention again here is one that I'm very much looking forward to. Heavy Rain on PS4. Obviously, there's Beyond Two Souls and all as well, or there's other ones that will be out fairly soon. But what's the other one? The Nathan Drake collection. That's another one. There's no point in me listing them off, but the ones that aren't out yet, I would prefer you leave off your list. I'd prefer that you just make your list out of games that you have played and enjoyed for a variety of reasons, mostly of which I've already listed anyway. But we'll move on to my one, or my couple anyway. Now, I divided this into a top 5 list, and I'll go through them all in no particular order. This is just the order that came to mind in. First off would be Halo, the Master Chief Collection. Now, I know a lot of people will probably give me flack over this, but the main reason I included this on my list is, yes, Halo brought online multiplayer to, or a lot of the way at least, to where it is today. It basically revolutionized online multiplayer. But yes, I did play a lot of Halo 2, 3, and 4 and Reach online. But yeah, the main reason I put Halo on here is just the sheer quality of the games, the enjoyability of the campaigns, and it was mostly the campaigns I played in the Master Chief Collection, and the quality of the remasters as well. Sure, you're looking at Halo, 2, 3, and 4 aren't fully locked 60 FPS. Personally, I've never had Halo 1 drop below 60 FPS. And yes, Halo 2 does not run at proper full HD. It does run at, it's like 1366 by 1080 or something like that. But the quality of the games, the quality of the remaster, and just the overall quality, and that's why I put it on there, because Halo is very dear to me, especially Halo Combat Evolved. And once I played the remaster. Well, I played Halo 1 for years back in the day. I went on and I redid the anniversary on the 360. Thought, yeah, it was a bit of an improvement, but I could take it or leave it. And then I played it again on the Master Chief Collection, and wow, it blew my mind. And it's so much different, and it's so enjoyable, it's so playable, and that is mainly why Halo is on there. I'm not factoring in the multiplayer at all for this, so you can abuse me or whatever you want for that. Next one up, I'm going to call this one as my HD remaster, because technically it's not HD, because the platform it's on is current, or, well, depending if you're asking Andrew House or not, but it is technically current, and it was originally from a 6th generation console and ported over, even though it's not HD, but it did receive a number of graphical improvements, including a slight resolution bump, and it received a little bit of extra content in there as well. And it actually came out to be an absolutely amazing game, and probably my game of the year for 2013 when it actually came out, because it was just that damn good. And that game is Persona 4 Golden on the Vita. So it's mainly just because the graphics. I've seen Persona 4. I own Persona 4 as well, and the quality of I'm using the air quotes here, quality of the remaster, and the quality of the additional content, and just the overall quality of the game, and just the ability to play it and just get absorbed and immersed in it, is Persona 4 Golden is a must for my list on here. Now this one is actually the one you're seeing right now. It's obviously The Last of Us Remastered. It came out in 2013. Last of Us Remastered came out on PS4 in 2014. A lot of people were pissed off because there was a 1 year gap in between. Usually you'd remake or remaster a game that was 5, 6, maybe 10 years old from a 2-generation platform leap, instead of just a one, let alone a 1-year-old game. But again, the quality of the game and the quality of the remaster is very high, and just because of that, the ability to play it and just sheerly and thoroughly enjoy it. Since The Last of Us originally came out in 2013, I've played through it about every 6 months, and every time it's been a joy. And yeah, the first 2 times were on PS3. And then ever since then, I've played it maybe 3 more times on PS4, and it's every time has just been extremely enjoyable. And yes, I realize the game itself is in 1080p 60 FPS. What you're seeing here is obviously 720p 30 FPS, because the Sony PS4 video recording feature records at that. So unfortunately, as good as it looks now, and what you're seeing, it looks considerably and so much better on the actual platform. And once I get my new capture card, I have bought one, but I used that for other stuff, and I had this footage recorded before it. But you know what I'm talking about. I mean, there's so many videos out there of 1080p 60 FPS gameplay of it, and it looks gorgeous, and it's a great game because of it. And the next one up on this list, this is, I'm sure a lot of people will probably have this, but it's the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. Yes, there's no surprise there. I'm not really worried about Peace Walker. Obviously, Peace Walker was included in there, but I'm really focused on MGS2 and MGS3. I played MGS2 to absolute death back in the day on a PS2. I played MGS3. Actually, I only played MGS3 once back on the PS2. But I fucking loved it. But it came out at a bad time. It was kind of in the, it was a really bad time for me for games, because there was so much to do and it required such an investment. But the Blue Point Games, who do the HD ports on these, Blue Point Games do fantastic work, and despite feeling a little bit old, if you've recently played MGS4 or MGS5 Ground Zeroes, if you haven't played those right before you play the HD collection, you won't really notice it. But yes, one or two of the little mechanics and features are a little bit clunkier and taken a little bit out. But the quality of remasters, just the quality of games. I know I've said quality like a million times in this video, but it's really well done, and it's a really good port and a really good HD remaster. And I would love if they brought it to PC, because that would just make it even better. And finally, last one on my main list, I struggled with this one because I wasn't sure if I should classify this as a HD remaster or just a PC port with better features. But I took into consideration all the stuff that I just listed, and I would classify it as kind of, it's like 50-50 later PC port with better features and 50-50 HD remaster. But that game on this list is Valkyria Chronicles PC edition. So yes, Valkyria Chronicles, excellent game, came out on the PS3 years ago at this point. And it has really nice cell shaded graphics, and it's a great strategy game as well, and the characters and just everything about it is really, really good. But on PC, especially at higher resolution, like I'm running a 2560 by 1440 monitor, and especially at higher resolution, the changes they've made to this engine and the changes they made in the rendering pipeline, it looks absolutely phenomenal when you're playing it on PC. It renders properly because of how they do the engine. It renders properly at your screen resolution, or even higher if you're using something like NVIDIA DSR. So it looks absolutely fantastic. It's such a gorgeous sight to behold on PC. Yes, the in-game pre-made cutscenes, like between levels and stuff, are just lifted straight from the PS3 version, so you can easily see there's 720p jagged edges all over the place. But it doesn't really detract from the actual quality of the game and the quality of the experience. And because it's generally a cheap game and it goes on sale on Steam like all over the place, and you're getting 75% off, it makes it onto my list anyway, because it's easily one of the better ones on there. So I'll give a couple of examples of other ones that didn't make my list, and I won't give reasons why, except in the cases that I can use them as a good example. So Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy Remastered came out on PC fairly recently. I made a video actually earlier this year, just when it ninja released, like one morning when I woke up. Now, I will say, while it's a great game and it's a decent enough remaster, given the fact it's a PS2 and Xbox 180 game, is that because of the in-game systems and mechanics and controls, I find it very clunky and very hard to get into. It does detract a bit from it, and that's one of the reasons. That's a good example of one of the things that I was talking about earlier. Again, we have a Devil May Cry remaster series. Now, this Devil May Cry one in particular I'm talking about is the one that came to 360 and PS3 and included, I believe it was the first 3 games, Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3. And the main reason for that is the graphics bump and the performance bump. It didn't really do it for me. And I mean, I loved Devil May Cry 1 back in the day. Wasn't really that much of a fan of 2 and 3, but I absolutely loved 1. And because of, it wasn't so much the graphics increase that didn't do it for me, but the performance, the frame rate actually dropped in the remaster, which is, if I remember right, it's been a few years, but it was 60 FPS if I remember right back in the PS2, and it was 30 FPS on the 360. Which, for anyone who plays a Devil May Cry game, knows that it's all about the speed and fluidity of the combat, which makes it Devil May Cry. So that was one of the things that it took away from the experience and all to enjoy it. Final Fantasy X and X-2 is the next one up on the list. I actually have this on all 3 platforms. I'm a bit ashamed to say. I originally was just going to buy it on PS3, and then I said, fuck it, I'll buy it on the Vita at the same time. And then I was like, okay, they announced it on PS4, fuck them, I'm not buying that. And then I was in GameStop, saw the cool limited edition, ended up buying it because I'm a sucker. But the quality of the port on this is hit or miss. Some things have been noticeably touched up and look noticeably better, but a lot of this, well, I'll say the majority of the stuff hasn't been. So I mean, you're probably looking about like a 75% of the game hasn't been properly cared for in the upscale and the port, and 25% maybe has. Now, I absolutely loved Final Fantasy X. I have 200 and something hours in it. I think it's like 280 hours in it on the PS2 version. However, when I went back to try and play it on the PS3, and once again on the Vita and PS4, all using the same save file, which was nice, I couldn't really put the time and investment into it. Not because I didn't have, not because I didn't have the attention span, or not because I didn't have the drive to do it. I was really psyched to do it. It's just something about it. It didn't do it for me, unfortunately. So that's another good example. This one doesn't really have a negative about it. It's just it didn't make my top 5, so I just thought I'd give it an honorable mention. As the Echo and Shadow of the Colossus collection on PS3, they're both very great games, and it just edged out for like 6th place on my list. So again, the same one is on this Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 remixes. They're both great games. They're both they benefit fantastically because of the art style of a HD port, and the performance increase, and especially just the graphics increase as well. But I couldn't really get a chance to. I couldn't really get back into it, especially because I've put so much time into them. I realized it was a long time ago, but maybe that had something to do with it. Just don't worry, we're almost at the end of the list. Well, we're really at the end of the list. We're almost at the end of the examples. Tales of Grace's F, I can't fault. Again, it just barely didn't make the cut. You can argue if this is a HD remaster or not, because it's a PS3 port of a Wii game. Obviously, the Wii was in standard def, so you can argue that as you want. It's a fantastic game. Arguably, possibly the best combat of a Tales game, completely. And then you can move on to Tales of Symphonia Chronicles Collection, which is the GameCube remake, or the GameCube remaster of Tales of Symphonia, which is brilliant game. And it also included the Wii sequel as well. So yeah, that was obviously gone from they're both gone from standard def up. The port on those isn't great, but the game quality and the art style kind of makes up for it anyway. And then you've games like Zelda Wind Waker, which again benefit from the art style benefits just completely on a HD remake thing. So it also shows that I'm not just being biased to certain consoles or whatever. And you've other games as well. You've the Resident Evil 4 port. You've got the Resident Evil HD remaster port. There's way too many to count on the list at this point. There's one game I left till last on this, and it's mostly because it's a perfect example of how the original quality of a game can't justify it making my list or even anywhere close to my list because of an extremely shoddy port, and that would be the Silent Hill HD collection, which I got on the 360, so it didn't get patched, which made it even worse. So yeah, unfortunately, while the Silent Hill games are, or at least the early Silent Hill games are phenomenal, I can't justify it onto the list simply based on that, because that's not what I'm judging all this about. So this video's gone on way too long, as usual, because I ramble and rant a lot, and I promised myself I would have coherent thoughts and made out a list and everything. So let me know in the comment section below your favorite HD remasters, as many as you want or as few as you want, and as many reasons as possible why you like them and why you enjoy them. Simply because I'm just so curious. If you want, you can include your pros and cons and your general opinion on HD remasters, but the main thing I'm looking for is the games and why. So let me know all that in the comment section below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter, details in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.